Finally, I was asking if you guys could hear me. Can you hear me now? All right, we're probably going to end this stream and start over again because I'm annoyed. I'm coming right back to the stream because I don't want this to log. I'll be right back. I'm gonna come right back into the live, you guys. So um, just know that I'm here. Or you know what? I'll just cut it. So today I want to talk about um, oh man, I'm sorry. I had so many people in here and everyone disappeared. I'm like, what's the deal? Like no one's saying anything. I guess it's because I wasn't saying anything. So today I'm home. I want to do a video, of course, but we're snowed in, and I was showing you guys that because we're snowed in, I can't go out there and do my normal nature walk. So it looks like you're just going to have to deal with me here on my couch today. Appreciate you guys for being here. Thank you for letting me know about the audio. I was really confused because I was asking questions and no one was responding. Now I know why. We're doing at home learning, so I might have kids popping in and out. They know I'm on a live session, but when does that ever matter to kids, right? Doesn't matter to them. So today's title um, is why is it that your ex is silent, but they're secretly watching you? Or sometimes it's not even secretive. I actually just got off a call with a lady who was telling me about a decision that she had to make with her ex boyfriend about moving on because he just wasn't picking up on the signs in that relationship that she wasn't getting her needs met. Um, and needs are things everyone has needs, right? If you get into a real, there was no reason to get in a relationship if you don't have needs, right? Or if you're not there to meet someone else's needs. There's a saying that goes, I'll take care of me for you if you take care of you for me, which is kind of like, you know, I don't need you, but I'm willing to do what I need to do in order for you to feel fulfilled in this relationship. And the lady that I was talking to, she was telling me about how she had to move on with this guy from this guy. And he was upset about it initially, but then he just kind of went numb. He just went silent. And it was weird to her because he was still questioning her. Where was she going? After he went through his numbness or his anger, he was still asking questions with the friends and the family. He was checking her social media, checking her Instagram. He started liking old photos, and they had been together for over 8 years. So she's like, "What? Why is he doing this?" Um, he hasn't reached out since their initial breakup, but all of a sudden he's starting to get more active again. And as I started to think about it, I think about pride and ego and why people they do the things that they do. I believe that he was secretly angry about the relationship being over, because I was just talking about pride versus indifference. Um, it's hard for pride to allow you to get to that indifferent state because I think indifference is when you're able to have conversations, you're able to be around that person. There's just no anger there. It's like, well, the relationship ran its course and we just had to go our separate ways and we're doing it in a way that's amicable. But only thing about pride is it won't allow you to get there because there's like this block, there's this need to win, right? To not look weak, to not look vulnerable to that person. And there's a saying that goes, you got to put your pride to the side. And when you're coming out of relationships, though, and I'm sure in the relationship there was probably a lot of back and forth going on, like who's to blame, who's the problem, why the relationship isn't thriving. Even after that breakup, the pride isn't going to go anywhere, right? Because there's still like this one up going. Like I have to win. I can't be the one that to, a lot of people talk about no contact. Why is no contact such a controversial slash hot topic? Is because at some point one of the people in those that dynamic has to break the no contact, which means one of them has to put their pride to the side and say, I'm more willing to work on what we have going right now than to be be stubborn. and lose you forever. So that's and what they'll do in order not to be vulnerable and not to put their pride to the side is they'll secretly sit back and watch you. She was saying that he would go and like old pictures, right? He'd go like old pictures. He'd be asking the friends and family about what she's got going on, but he would never come directly out to her and say what he's truly feeling. So that's why she initially reached out to me, was like, what's why is he doing this? This doesn't make any sense. And as I was explaining before, I don't know if the audio was on, it's because she had gotten herself to acceptance quicker than he did. When someone comes with the to the breakup, they've already gone through this process of anger, jealousy, embarrassment, putting those things to bed. So when they get to acceptance, they can have conversations. They're no longer angry. She's like, why is he like secretly being? Why is he not secretly? Like he's being mean. He's being um, angry about this whole thing, and and I had to explain to her it's because this was like new to him. This was kind of a blind side. I don't know what's going on within that relationship, but this is a new revelation for him. And if he is someone that has a big ego or he has a lot of pride, he doesn't want to accept that he was the wrong one in this relationship and he was the one to ruin this thing. And what you also see during those times is usually you'll see them flopping and floundering, trying to find their footing again in their life. And that's when you'll see them jumping into rebound relationships. And that's when you'll see that it almost seems silly the way that they start moving after it, because you know that they're still not over you. You know that they still have this deep down resentment and honestly remorse about your relationship not working out the way that they wished it would have. So that's one of the reasons why I believe is usually anger. And especially like if we're talking about men in particular, if there are kids involved in that situation, a lot of the men that I know and a lot of the men that I coach are very protective over their children. And when it comes to, potentially having someone else around your kids and raising your kids, they feel a certain type of way about that. And they might do some stalking, some secret watching, or some asking about, so what was you doing this weekend? Or where was she at this weekend? Because they're concerned about potentially losing, if they do have a big pride, like they are big ego, or they have a lot of pride, they're not going to, it's not going to sit very well with them knowing that another man is taking their kids to baseball practice or whatever it is that they're doing, basketball practice. So I'm trying to look at all the points I got here. Another point I have is when silence actually means emotional conflict. And that's where a lot of people get stuck, especially when it comes to a dismissive avoidant. What is exactly keeping them from watching but still silent? How can one do that? What is exactly keeping them from watching but still silent? Did I like title this wrong or something? Because I'm confused with that one. Um, I'll get to that whenever. If you can update me on that one, I'd appreciate that. When silence actually means emotional conflict. This is usually, so I have another channel where I talk a lot about dismissive avoidant attachment style, and a lot of the people are wondering on that channel, what an avoidant is going through when they are silent. And this is one of the things that really stumps people, because if you know someone that has a lot of childhood trauma, if you know someone that was really neglected as a kid and just didn't exercise that emotional muscle, or just having healthy communication skills, it's still no audio. Oh my goodness. Thumbs up if you can hear me. I thought the audio was fixed. It's part of the reason why I don't use these headphones because they don't act very well. Uh, okay, so we're good. Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry about that. Um, go back to my point. When silence actually means emotional conflict. Yeah. So avoidance. People are really wondering like, what are they going through, and if they even care. Because usually when they see an avoidant go numb and they just kind of like dive into their creature comforts, and they seem like they're cold and this they're almost like a robot. But I've talked to enough avoidants to know that what they're really dealing with during those times is usually shame, and a lot of the times it's guilt about not being able to show up for the relationship the way that they wish they showed up, or the way that they felt they could show up. um, I use the analogy sometimes that avoidants tend to bite off more than they can chew. In the beginning, they'll have these lofty goals and these lofty expectations about what they could do and how they could show up in the relationship. But when push comes to shove, they fall short of being able to meet those goals and meet those expectations of some of the people that they get into relationships with. And because they've never worked that, again, that emotional muscle, they didn't have those people to help them buffer while they were younger. They didn't have parents that were, honestly, I think a lot of avoidants have parents that were either unavailable or they struggle with communication themselves, that they struggle with shame at the end of those relationships. And when they go silent and they just start to just kind of bury themselves into the things that they do, it's to forget about the way that things happen with you. I had a lady actually that I was coaching that she didn't recognize this guy as an avoidant while they were in a relationship, but after it was over, she started to look back on some of the interactions that they had, and we kind of put together a plan on reaching out to the person. And I'm like, well, he seemed like he was showing up a little bit more secure than he normally would, but he never responded to any of the messages. And she started to take that personal. And I'm like, I don't think this is to be something that you should be taking personal. I think that he's probably still trying to figure out what he's feeling, and kind of bury that shame about not showing up in that relationship the way that he wanted to. Case in point, what I was just talking about. You guys have any questions? Jeezy, help me out with what is exactly keeping him from watching but still silent. How can one do that? One, as I've been doing this, two things I learned. One, fear is at the front of everything. It's always fear. It's always fear of being made a fool of, not getting your needs met, not being able to show up. That's always at the front of a lot of things. But when it comes to after the relationship ends, what usually takes over is shame, guilt, disappointment, hurt. When I was mentoring kids, a lot of times they would show up with, they have incidents that happen, and their initial response is to get angry. And I would have to break it down to them, like, anger is a secondary emotion. Anger comes after the other emotion that happened before that, or the belief that happened before that. So if you're coming with anger, like, what's behind that anger? Like, if a kid gets into a fight on a bus, you're like, what's before that anger? It's using embarrassment. Like, maybe you were getting bullied. There was embarrassment. There was disappointment. There was betrayal. There was something that happened before that anger showed up, right? And even happiness. Happiness is also a secondary emotion. What happens before happiness? It's excitement. It is relief. It is accomplishment. There's other things that comes before that too. So I guess that's just a little nugget that I learned over life. Um, so whenever I'm struggling with things too, like if we're going to put this in relationship terms, after the relationship's over, it's usually that shame and that guilt. But fear is probably one of the biggest. I'll take that to the grave. Fear is at the front of everything. This is why when someone is struggling to like make a decision, let's say that they know that this person's hurting and they want to reach back out to them, I'll say, all right, there's one side you have faith, and then the other side you have fear. They can't coexist. Which one comes first, faith or fear? And if you allow fear to block you from doing what you truly want to do, then there'll be a lot of resentment or a lot of remorse. There'll be a lot of remorse about not tackling that fear and pushing through it. Let me know if you guys have any questions. So you'll see them be silent and not reach out because if this is a rebound scenario, okay, so there's another little clause there, right? If they're in another relationship and they're still watching you, part of the reason is because they're trying to like save face for that relationship. You will see that that relationship isn't really panning out the way they thought it would be panning out. And they'll still get their emotional fix, or they'll live vicariously through looking through your Instagram and just kind of see what you have going on, because it's a little bit too vulnerable to come out and say, you know what, this relationship's not great. I made a mistake. That takes a lot more emotional maturity to get to. Why are women such hard work? You know what? I'm going to fill that question because I think it's a good one. It's only hard work if you make it hard work. I grew up around a lot of women, you know, two aunts, sister, cousin, mom, um, single mom household. I guess I kind of understand womanese, and I really try to help men understand that too. There are a lot of different things women go through all throughout life and throughout the month. Let's be honest. And if you're not in tune with it, you start to take things personally. And when men start to take things personally, women start to feel like they're not feeling seen, heard, or understood. And usually, what women want you to do is just to be with them and sit with them and understand where they're coming from. They don't need you to fix everything. They just want you to just be. Think about how they interact with their best friends and other women. They are usually just talking about different things, and they're not trying to like fix the issues. They just need to like let it out and to vent about it. And if you can be someone that can just feel those feelings and emotions and what they're saying and not take it personally. All right, so there's a book that it's an old book. I don't know if it's even something that people still follow, but it's called Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. And they said he advised men to stop trying to fix so many problems and just ask what the person wants. So if she comes to you with an issue, you can ask her at the front of things like, do you want me to fix this? Or do you want me to help? You want my advice? Or do you just want me to listen? And then they'll usually say, I just want you to listen. And then you can take your personal, you don't have to take it personally after that and just say, all right, I'm just here to listen. But if they do want advice, give it to them. Doesn't mean they'll take it, but if they're opening themselves up to even having that possibility, I think at the root of all of it is communication, right? It's all communication. And that's the way women process their emotions, is through communication. Men, I don't want to generalize. I don't think that's healthy. Um, but for the most part, I think a lot of men don't talk about everything all the time because they don't need to. And like we talked about with pride, it's hard for us to put our pride to the side and say, hey, we need help with XYZ. Many of the men that come to me are always too late because they haven't been able to swallow their pride soon enough to ask for assistance. Hopefully that helped you. Hopefully it will help you. I'm gonna go back and cut the beginning off because people couldn't hear me in the beginning. Mine came back after 21 years. Ghosted me early December 2025. She left Instagram open to talk. It's a one-way talk only. I just sent her photos anymore. Working on projects. Okay, so 21 years is a long. That is life must have dealt some real damage. How long is too long waiting them to speak up? I'm pretty much over her now. Yeah, I would say that ship has sailed. I guess I would wonder, like, are you here for validation? Are you here because you know that I'll answer? I guess I would wonder what is her tensions. Like, are we? Do they just want to be friends? Does she just want to be friends, or what is her reasoning for opening the lines of communication back up? Like, is she divorced now? Is she married? Had kids? Divorced? A lot can happen in 21 years. That's funny. Why are women such hard work? They can say the opposite. They can say men are hard work. I mean, getting men to understand where they're coming from. They can say that that's exhausting too. I mean, so there's always two sides to the coin there. And it's interesting because all of my channels, well, I guess I got a couple now. I like four channels that I work on, but my big channel and this channel, it's almost a dead split between men and women as far as subscribers. And I thought that was interesting because it's kind of rare that you have someone that's neutral and can kind of be a mediator for both sides. And this is why I try to be a mediator on my attachment channel, a mediator for avoidance and a mediator for anxious attachers. Um, it's a very tough line to follow because you have to be extremely careful about what you say and you have to be neutral. And hopefully this channel is going to be the same where I can be neutral and just be like a advocate for both sides of the coin. But there's one thing I can't advocate for, and this is why I started Rebound Journal. I can't advocate for someone who has betrayed someone else. I guess that's one thing I can't do. I mean, I've had it done to me before and it hurts. Um, Especially when someone leaves you for someone else and they didn't even try to work on a relationship or even try to save face or give you time to heal before they decided to jump into someone else. And people could do whatever they want to do, right? Like, to each his own. But when it comes to like emotional betrayal, I mean, I've had people who were really, really struggling to the point where they didn't even want to be here anymore. And it was hard for me to like console them because betrayal hurts. And that's one thing I really can't really advocate for, um, because it's cruel. Um, she wanted to sell my Illinois farm and move Illinois. You can't tell where I'm from. Farm and move to California with her. I'm 56 now. She is 54. We got into a text argument. I had no idea she was an avoidant until I discovered your channel and others. Um, my ex broke up with me after 3 years. All right, I'm on to Gerard. My ex broke up with me after 3 years, jumping straight into a new relationship. After 11 months, she wrote me how big of a mistake he was and that she needed to get out of it. So a lot of these rebound relationships are very impulsive. Um, and it's not to say that life is a long journey, right? I mean, if you think about till death do us part, let's say you get married when you're 25, and then you get married, and then, what's the average life expectancy? 70, 75, 80 years. That is a really long time to be with one person, to live with one person, to adapt to another person's way of living. So throughout that time, there's going to be a lot of changes that happen internally, externally, family structure, death of loved ones, all those different things. So there's a lot of variables that are changing throughout that time. And I think it takes a lot of strength to be able to see where another person's coming from, to be fluent enough to adapt to them and not feel the need to go find someone else to fill whatever void that you have. It takes a lot of strength. But at the same time, if someone truly cared and loved you, they will not allow for you to feel like a failure, especially if they're right mentally. I don't think they will allow for you to feel like a failure or to do anything that'll make you feel like you're being disrespected or you're being, I guess, embarrassed or shamed by the community by the way that they're moving. Does that make sense? I'm trying to put it as neutral as possible. I enjoy your videos, very helpful, informative, helping me heal. She devastated me back in late 2024, first time she discarded me. So that's the thing about the word discard too. Okay, so hopefully this is catching up. When you hear the word discard, what does it make you think of? I'm gonna pause for a second. What does the word discard make you think of? Because I think this is a throwaway. Okay, I talked about this question on my other channel. It was off brand, so it didn't do very well. But I think it's important. Like language can start wars and end wars. Hopefully, I don't get in trouble for that because of what's going on right now. Language is everything. So when you hear a word like discard, um, for me, so Toya, I think your name's Toya. You said throwaway. For me, I automatically think in psychological in psychologist world, I think narcissism because discard is a very, I guess, negative word. It's a buzzword if you're creating content and you want some type of engagement. So now I'm giving you guys the secrets here. Hopefully you don't look at me weird. But discard is always it always carries a negative root to me because if you think about narcissism, you think of love bomb, you think of this devaluing and discard. Those are the three phases that happen. So it makes me wonder like where you're at mentally when someone uses the word discard about their ex. It automatically makes me think that there's anger, resentment, and some things that need to be processed about that relationship. Now you say something like, all right, she ended it. That's one thing. It kind of lets me know you're more neutral about, all right, maybe I'm still at blame. When you say discard, think like, all right, this person might be narcissistic or they're cluster B or something. Throwaway, I guess that makes me think that there's still some anger there too, and then some resentment. I believe you have to let the rebound play out without interference. 100%. They feel on top after the jump. If you interfere, they'll want narcissistic behavior. Yeah. They'll want to strike back and make you feel less than for trying to circle the block. Um, so I don't think I want you guys to tell me this because it's a conversation, right? I like having conversations. What do you think about people getting back together after rebound relationships? Do you think there's ever a scenario where it is acceptable to reunite with someone who has gotten into a new relationship? Because I think there are definitely some clauses in there. that can cause for good discussion, or I guess understanding some gray area. Let's say you're someone that was habitually cheating on your partner, and then you guys break up, and then they find someone else and they get into a new relationship. But then they say, you know what, I just kind of did this because I was still hurt about all the infidelity that you had in our relationship. Do you think reconciling in that scenario is okay? Because I've had scenarios where there were some people, I would say one guy that I remember specifically was still upset about his ex going to get into a new relationship when he admitted himself that he couldn't stop stepping out on a relationship anyway, but he was still really jaded about her going and finding someone else and then realizing that was a mistake and coming back. Do you think it's okay that, would you say that there was a scenario that would justify reconciling and being okay with, I guess, the hall pass that she had from all the years that she was being treated poorly? If they explain, say sorry, up to the accept or not. Not for me. I used to chase and try to make it work, but now I burn my bridges. If they can do it once, they would do it again. What about stages in life? Now, this is a conversation here. What about stages in life where what you liked in your 20s, in your 30s, you no longer like in your 40s and 50s? Like, what if there was just a stage in your life where you kind of had to get it out your system and then finally found what you wanted? Like, you really understood that what I liked back then, let's say you didn't have any kids. I just use this analogy on a call with a lady from Australia. When you're 23 years old, like maybe you want to be on the back of a motorcycle and popping willies and living your best life. But when you're 33 and you're 43 and you have kids, and the things that you did back then won't look so appealing anymore, where maybe when in your early 20s, like I said, this is just a conversation, your early 20s, you don't know what you want, and if you think about the human brain, I believe it said that the frontal lobe doesn't connect to the rear lobe to the age of 25. So the decision making that you make up until that point wouldn't even be mature decision making. They talk about addiction and how you pick up like smoking and drinking and stuff. Like, you're less likely to pick up any of those once your brain matures. Once the frontal lobe connects to the rear lobe, your brain is officially matured, which means your decision making and your rationale is going to be a lot more intentional than the YOLO before you were 25. I don't even know where I was going with that. All right, Sarah speaks. It depends on the situation. If you both were not ready at the time you met, but you're better aligned and people can provide clarity for the leaving, there's a chance. So it kind of makes me think about the guy who had the lady that came back after 21 years. I don't know if you're still here. Maybe you can explore that again because you guys are in way different places than you were 21 years ago. Like that's a whole lifetime ago. If you think about, for many people, most of my people who watch my videos are 34, 33 through 65, 70. So maybe not this demographic, but for the people who are 21 and under, you know, they're still babies, essentially. Okay, so Gerard said, the trust is gone. I will never get back together because they'll likely do it again. As you get older, like another lady said, you get mature. You get mature and certain things just don't seem as appealing to you anymore. And if cheating's one of them, like so someone was talking about this, when a man truly, in particular, we're gonna talk about just men, when a man truly finds what he's looking for, he won't step out anymore. It's almost like you kind of lose that urge, at the point you're really, a lot of insecure men cheat But when you're secure financially, you're secure with who you are as a person, you know, you're on your purpose. I don't know, no purpose is another word that people don't, it's kind of out of black eye. You don't need any of the validation from anyone else. You just want peace. Like you just want tranquility. And this is why I like to taking the walks around when I do my videos. It's just like it's just peaceful. Just a peaceful talk about relationships and healing. All of the fancy, all the ridiculousness that you try to find security in, it's no longer important to you. So what if someone is like that? Like someone was living a fast life, and all of a sudden they're like, all right, I know what I'm looking for now. I'm looking for you. I just want to just take walks, drink coffee, and just chill. Is that worth getting back with that person? I guess it takes some time to see if they've truly changed. But what if they're at the point where they finally caught up to you? And you know what they said about, I think, I don't know if this is still a thing, but they talk about how men mature slower than women do. You know, women are born more mature. I think it has something to do with like inside the womb, um, things just mature quicker for that certain chromosome. Wait on God. You need to be equally yoked. Amen and amen again. What does equally yoked mean? Like, is it equally yoked financially, equally yoked as far as your spiritual journey, or equally yoked as far as emotional intelligence? Intelligence. I guess I would want to know what equally yoked mean because that can be different from like you could be someone who likes to travel and feel like you're equally yoked, but not aligned in other places. All right, spiritually. Thanks for clearing that. Is it true avoidance plan ahead of the discard ghosting you? Usually when avoidance ghosts, it's a form of avoidance. It is a way to not have to address the issue, and it can come across as cowardly. It's conflict avoidance. That's why they usually ghost. And and also sometimes it's because they don't want to hurt your feelings. But then I talked in another video where about cluster B. Like you have to make sure that there's no cluster B in there too, because cluster B can be pretty callous and selfish and really think about only themselves and not the other person. Um, this is why when you're going through this and you see someone who jumps in a relationship and they're posting pictures and they're doing all these different things real quickly, and you're like, wait, so what does that mean? Like, did we not mean anything? You have to rule out cluster B because maybe if this person is like, all right, I just kind of just do what I want to do, hop, um, can't rule out cluster B. All right, so dang, this caught up pretty quick. She never apologized for the early 2000s. Like rewrote. Okay, so we're talking about the 21-year guy here. Like rewrote the story. Man, I was confused as can be. Those are the type of people I would not give a second chance to because there's no accountability. If you're just gonna rewrite the story, that lets me know you weren't truly remorseful. So there's no repair. There's sweeping under the rug and hope you just forgot. Like I use this analogy all the time. You bumped your head and got amnesia, and all of a sudden forget about everything that happened. She is from Illinois. Yeah, I'm from. You getting this storm too? I'm up here in Wisconsin. This, you guys are here. Look at this, man. Big blizzard. This is why I wasn't posting my normal jogging or walking video today. I wish he would say that. Yeah, I think honestly, closure is a gift, and when it comes to someone jumping into a newer relationship immediately, that's one thing that you feel you'll never get is closure. You'll never get that. I know. I know, Luke. I know, man. Always ice and snow. I'm actually kind of tired of it. Actually, we're going on our anniversary trip in a couple weeks. We're gonna go down to Arizona, so I'm pretty excited about that. Ready for it. Nail with the snow. Yeah, 13, 15 inches or something we're gonna be getting. Virtual learning. My kids are here. I talked about that when my mic wasn't working earlier, so I'll repeat that again. But yeah, if you guys have any more questions, I'm gonna wrap it up here soon because virtual learning and all. Got to make sure they're on their game. H Town, Houston is 60 degrees. All right. Yeah, I'm ready for that. I live in the UK and haven't seen snow in a year now. Are you kidding me? All right. You didn't even have to put that in the chat. These old bones, these old football bones are aching over this. I appreciate you guys. Like it. I want to see some likes in here. Can y'all like this and just help your boy out a little bit with getting out this message? And if you feel like this content, this channel is valuable, this will help me out a lot. It helps out the analytics. Um, and I feel that the more people that we get in the community and the more people we have talking about having these conversations is when the real change starts to happen. Maybe they can start taking accountability for some of the things that they've done. And I think vulnerability is strength. Now, I don't think too much vulnerability is strength, but it also depends on where the intentions are coming from. Because if you're too vulnerable, it almost comes across as manipulative to me, where, uh, you know what I mean? Because it's like inauthentic. It doesn't come from a place of, I want to create health and I guess unity in this relationship. It comes from a place of, I just want you to join my program and make me feel secure about myself. Does that make sense? Hope it does. All right, I'm going to end this and I'm going to cut out the front part that didn't have audio. But I appreciate you guys. Continue to like the content if you can, share it with people, and hopefully it's helping you get through this difficult time in your life. If you're going through a difficult time, if you're just like sitting here talking to me, that's another thing. But I'm ready for warm weather. Thank you guys. I appreciate you for always being here, and God bless everyone. Stay safe, stay healthy and happy.